Bring this meeting of the New Gloucester City Council to order. Welcome all of you folks that are out there in the audience, administration, and the rest of council. And with that,
All right, Mayor Cook,
here,
Councilwoman Grove,
Present.
Councilman Bond,
Here.
Councilman Shammy,
Here.
Councilwoman Wright,
Here.
Councilman Lindsay,
Here.
and Vice Mayor Eggleston.
Here.
All seven present.
invocation will be by Chief Trustee.
Father, Lord, we thank you for the day and all thy many blessings, and thank you for the beautiful weather. Please be in this meeting tonight, Lord, and let thy perfect will be done. Bless our troops, our first responders, and their families. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that said, I need an action on the minutes of the May 19th meeting.
So moved.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes,
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
and communications, I have none. And we'll go to the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, members of the public. So, I guess our discussion topics for upcoming legislation, we're getting into that season, setting the table for our budget discussions this fall. So the tax budget for June is going to be our focus, already working with Mrs. Harris and Mr. Kicko on that, along with our capital improvement plan. So we hope to have some legislation ready for introduction in those in the coming weeks. Next, down to additional discussion topics. So we did have a big movement, mainly on me. So I completed the internal codification, internal audit. It's a lot. We're talking at least 80 specific codes plus that either require amendments, changes, or complete removals, along with chapters, plural, that either need a chapter written or a chapter removed. I thought Mr. Moore did a fantastic job. He told me it took him about 4 months to get through the entire code. And I think most of this we've discussed. I mean, they conflict with each other. It's very difficult from an enforcement perspective. It's quite paralyzing with, some of them, especially around like animals in the city, signage, different things that should be just easy things. But when it conflicts itself, it just, essentially, we just have to give grace in a lot of these, or just leave it up to one person's interpretation, Mr. Moore, on, how to enforce the code. So essentially what we're proposing is the next step is, soliciting proposals for an outside source to essentially do a full cleansing of our code. I think I mentioned in the previous council meeting that the cost is probably going to exceed my spending limit of $35,000. And once we have those bids, I'd like to talk a little bit more about it. It's kind of hard to know what to suspect outside of just having an idea of what other communities have paid for this. But what my hope is in lieu of doing this, through piecemeal, I would say we probably at least need a couple years of working sessions along with another couple years of legislation. With our new neighbors coming in town, I really feel like we need to get this code squared away sooner rather than later. And also this holds up our comprehensive plan until we get the code done. So we've got the charter, next step is code, step after that is comprehensive plan. So just want to put you guys on notice of that we probably will be getting some bids in here and hopefully within the month of June to give us a better idea of how much it's going to cost and then also how long it will take to get it back. The next, for those who attended the reserve at Honey Creek, hosted by D.R. Horton, their grand opening a couple weeks ago, Had an opportunity on the same day to brief, the Rotary Club was giving out their high school scholarships that day. So it was a great day just all around, and very excited for New Carlisle. Obviously, I don't really know what to expect walking into these things, like many people wouldn't. Like, how many realtors are going to show up? How many people of the public? It's rainy, it's dreary. For those who attended, I don't know if that was one of the smaller ranch-style homes. I don't know the square footage of it, but I think we packed about 60, 70 people inside the living room to give some comments before the ribbon cutting. The president of D.R. Horton was out there. Everyone seemed extremely exciting, spent a lot of time talking with the marketing team. So just, some good energy going on in New Carlisle right now. It seems like they're selling houses and they're sticking them up, and it looks like things are going really well. We now anticipate the Mono Meadows doing something very similar. We're just trying to pin down a date. I know Mr. Kitko has been working with them. So once we have that date, we'll obviously notify you all, along with the general public, to attend that grand opening too. So anticipate that's probably coming within the next month or two. Okay. I think that is all I have for the city manager's report, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Any questions for the city manager? Go ahead, Mr. Vaughn.
Did D.R. Horton say at all, I wasn't able to make that thing, obviously, but what their plan is for those ponds out front?
So
Mr.
with the ponds, we did sell them water, but in the future, we are looking to, their commercial development may be able to drain into those, or they may be able to put in one large well, but we're trying some alternatives for them, because honestly, I don't mind selling water, but to me, just putting drinking water in a pond doesn't make sense. So we're trying to work at different avenues.
Okay. My only other concern is if those things are just, if they don't have the fountains on, is that they just become stagnant mosquito breeding
They're treated.
ground. Oh, they are
They
treated. Okay.
have it's Lake something company they're contracted with,
Okay,
and they treat those.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
But we'll make sure that stays going.
I mean,
Yeah.
it does look nicer with the fountains on too, but yeah.
And there'll be rocks too, where you see the plastic. They're gonna put rocks down there, so it'll be dressed up.
I figured they
well.
landscape it somehow or whatever, so.
Anyone,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Bill.
Oh, Mr. Bond, you're done.
I'm done.
To follow up on Mr. Bond's question, the fountains, are those lighted by any chance, do you know?
Ooh. Good question. I don't know.
Because he said they really look cool on. I thought, yeah, they really look cool at night with lights on them too, you know? I see the
don't know.
ones in Dayton down on the river and they look fantastic, but their lights change and have a lot more money and, well, they'd be paying for
We
it.
can ask that question, and get that back
Yeah,
to you.
that'd be
Yeah, I think that would
interesting to
look
know.
really good too. And I know it's gonna be an HOA as well, and I'm sure, through the HOA, through the years,
Yeah.
they'll find some other ways of, kind of dressing up their community. But, no, that's a good point. I like that too.
One more, if I may, sir. The code audit, if we was to act on that now, which we're not, just a hypothetical, it would still take most likely to the end of next year or the early of '27 to get it all done, would it not? You think?
It's tough to measure. I mean, I'd just be blunt and honest. This is probably something that should have been done about 30 years ago. An audit of the code, I would recommend, and we're probably going to need to do it again, after these houses are built and, different things that are moving with our community, that, you should have reoccurring audits of your codes to prevent, them having disparaging language, conflicting with one another. So to answer your question, I think it'd probably be somewhere between 3 to 5 years, just to get through everything. I mean, this is just a small snippet of every single code that Brian has identified and proposed solutions for. Some things are just prudent. Other things are conflict. I've kind of flagged everything. I'm happy to sit down so you can get your head wrapped around a little bit more. Also, we could probably email this to you. But there's just little things like chickens, for instance. I know that's a hot topic. I think, let me see where that is.
But an outside company wouldn't take them that long, would it? You're talking about if we did it in-house.
Yeah, if we did it in-house, but the problem is we have to go line by line with every single flagged code ordinance.
Right, but if an outside company did it, they could probably do it within a year and a half.
That, the hope is yes. I would like to have the code ready to be enforced by this time next year.
Because my personal opinion is this probably should be done to an outside source. They, I don't know how they'll do it, but I'm sure a computer will be involved somewhere. And it most likely should be done, an audit should probably be done about every 10 years on the codes, or sooner, depending on the growth and stuff.
Yeah, I would, defer to Mr. Jeffries on, his experience and on that. But yeah, when you go through, and we did something similar with the charter. I mean, we spun our wheels for about 6 months until we found a model that was chartered through the entire nation. So you have all kinds of different entities that are feeding into this. And I think when you go through a private consulting firm, they have their own models. They can look at our demographics, our type of city, look at comparable models, and probably produce something relatively quickly. I'm speaking a little bit into the unknown unless Mr. Jeffries has more knowledge on it, but I would suspect probably taking at least 6 months from the time that we accept the bid and, send off what we already have identified as discrepancies. But without talking with them and getting bids, I don't know. But this is a major lift that's taken months and months to get through. So just getting to the point now of being able to send off for proposals, I think is, a big lift within itself. So, but I'm happy to send this out to you all just so you guys kind of have an idea of just what some of the conflicts look like. And then, also there's deeper discussions like, the historic downtown, should they be held to different zoning requirements and things compared to what's, north of town? That's the historic downtown. You have buildings that are over 100 years old. There's certain things that you should probably consider with that infrastructure that would be different than, a new, building going in, north of Lake. So it's a fairly complicated project. Not saying that we couldn't get it done, but I do think to be prudent, and also the cost of legislation, I think would be pretty excessive having to do this by piecemeal.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I would like a copy of it. I suppose most of us would, or would at least be interested. I would not like to hold off on the comprehensive plan, though. Is there some way we could go ahead and start work on that and just, because it's not going to be done for a year either. It would just seems to me that we don't need, how tall can your tree be to know our comprehensive plan. That, to me, that seems reasonable that we go ahead and start on it too.
No, I totally agree with you, Ms. Wright. I think it's hard to have, too many stakes in the fire all at the same time. And I think that is, part of the logic. I don't think we need to wait for the code to get back from an outside source before we start the comprehensive plan.
Right.
I think now that we've drawn our attention off of this, we can now focus our attention more into the comprehensive plan. And
That would be
absolutely, with
my
some of the things
pleasure
going
for
on and
sure,
moving
yeah.
forward. And we should have a plan for our new community members coming in.
That's right.
That may be a deciding factor of, what's the direction of New Carlisle post this development. And I think we should be prepared to answer those types of questions.
Anything else? If not, we have no committee reports that I'm aware of. We will go to the comments from the members of the public. If you will, the podium's yours. Come ahead, Janelle.
Janelle Zimmerman, 219 Prentice Drive. I was just curious if either of the housing developments have a model home open that you can go see. When I looked up, I saw that you could take tours of different houses with an appointment and stuff, but I didn't know if they had like set hours where the model homes were open that you could go through them.
I think D.R. Horton has a salesperson up there now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe they actually, it's not a real, they're doing their own financing, so they have a representative there. I think typical business hours, 9 to 5. We can get specific. I would imagine, I believe what they told us a couple weeks ago was Monday through Friday, typical business hours. Right. But the building in which you would go in to just talk with the rep is one of the models, along with the one right beside, and that's the one that's on the east side of 235. The one on the west side of 235, I know they have model homes built, but I don't know if they have designated representatives.
Not yet.
They're
They're getting close.
So that,
Okay.
I would imagine, would be part of the grand opening that we anticipate. I think counting the models on the west end, I counted 10 that were at least framed up over the weekend, so I know they're getting very close.
Yeah, I know they had quite a few. But I was just under the impression that you needed to make an appointment and you sort of wanted to buy one, you know? And I don't want to buy one, I'd just like to go through a model home just to see what they look like, so I wasn't sure
So
how that
I
worked.
pulled up D.R. Horton's webpage, I Googled it, and it says reserve at Honey Creek at D.R. Horton, Monday 1 to 6, Tuesday 11 to 6, Wednesday 11 to 6, closed Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday 12 to 6, 12 to 5.
Oh, okay,
So noon is a good time every day except for Thursday, Friday,
okay,
if you're looking, you know.
okay, that sounds interesting. And I can't remember whatever other questions I might have, so I,
Thank you, Janelle. Anyone else? Go ahead, son.
My name's Dylan Dupuy, 122 North Clay Street, in town, of course. And at the library just a couple days ago, I drew a plan of like, I'm going to get this rendered, but I drew a plan. Well, I forgot the paper though. Sad. I drew a plan of a new intermediate school and a new Spitzer Stadium, which would swap out all those houses, and somehow we would move all of those houses somewhere in town. That was just my mind there.
Question, sir.
Go ahead.
What houses you wanting to move?
Like it was the whole entire complex was from Main Street all the way to South Clay Street, and it was north of Madison and south of Jefferson Street, like in that little free block area.
And how do you propose we move these houses?
It was like somehow we do it like in the way they moved the houses from the Verplots and Osborne
Okay,
when they moved those houses at Fairborn.
and where would we put them if the people didn't want to move?
Most likely we would either buy some plots from Studebakers, like if someone owns them,
Mhm.
like the nursery, and we would set the houses there, or we would this might be pretty hard or pretty impossible to do, but move them to where the middle school and the regular Spitzer Stadium is.
So would you propose that we would do this through eminent domain and just take their houses and give them fair market value for it? And then we could tear them down.
I'm like, if we would do that, they would either move out of town or
Yeah.
just decide to buy those houses in either Monroe Meadows or D.R. Horton.
Or they'd come looking for counsel to hang us.
Yeah.
But young man, you keep thinking, because you come up with some pretty vivid and imaginative things, and one of these days you're gonna say something to the seven of us, and we're gonna jump on it and say, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
So,
Hold-
Go ahead.
So, in your proposal, my house is included in that?
You're getting a free house anyway.
What if I like my house?
and that's exactly why I was wanting to know what he was talking about.
Would like to rebuild it
But if
somewhere.
you- But if you move my house, do I get a bigger yard?
Well, the only thing I can say to this
Bad idea.
plan, it sounds to me like it's gonna take a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna write the check.
Oh,
I think he neglected that part.
well, you know, I don't think the budget would allow us this kind of a scope of a plan, but, you know, if you can come up with a way to figure that money problem out,
Yeah.
God bid.
You get that financed, you find donors and stuff and financing for that? Hey, I bet we'd all be right on board with that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't include my house, so,
Me
you know.
All right, you got anything else?
I'm out.
Yeah, you mind if I say one thing, Mr. Mayor? So, young sir, I think we were just talking about the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
And what the comprehensive plan is essentially a blueprint of the future of New Carlisle. So this is where we get to have that creative spirit and make ideas reality. And we
Yeah.
form it out into a plan. So I think you'd really enjoy being a part of that discussion. It's, you know, it's still a regular council meeting, but we exchange ideas a lot more and talk about, you know, what we want New Carlisle to look like when, you know, maybe you're raising children or even
Yep.
grandchildren.
Yep.
So we would love to have, you know, a younger person in the community to partake in those discussions. Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, son.
And you keep coming to these meetings. We enjoy having you up here talking to us. It's really a treat, I think.
Love to see you.
Anyone else? If not, I guess Ms. Stapleton will go to the ordinance for resolutions.
So ordinance 2024-76, introduced on 12/16/24 and reintroduced on 5/19/25, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance amending sections 881.02 and 881.03 of the codified ordinances of the city of New Carlisle, Ohio, for the continuation of the city's existing 0.5% municipal income tax during the period beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2030, for the purpose of paying police expenses.
So moved.
Second.
An explanation of this ordinance, you know, first, I'd be remiss to not say that we're very appreciative to have the opportunity to propose this ordinance to you all, and we'd like to thank the community for putting us in the position to do that. But essentially, this is to renew our 5-year contract for law enforcement with the sheriff's department.
Bless you.
Anything further?
All right, Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston. Yes. Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grow,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
7-0. Ordinance 2025-21, introduced on 5/19/25, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance authorizing a contract for the purchase of de-icing rock salt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kiko. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Evening, Mayor, members of council. This ordinance is to continue with our second year for working with SWAP 4G for the purchase of de-icing salt at $71.56 per ton, and we use an estimated 300 tons per year. Through about the last 4 or 5 years, we've been averaging about 100, so we just estimate about 300 when we bid.
Questions?
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grow,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shammy. Ordinance 2025-22E, introduction, public hearing, and action tonight. An ordinance authorizing a joint partnership agreement for the program year 2025 Community Housing Impact and Preservation Program with Clark County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
An explanation of this ordinance, essentially, this is for Clark County and us to enter into a partnership to apply for CHIP funds The emergency obviously sticks out. From my understanding, it's a kind of an arbitrary deadline that the state puts on us that was due on the 13th of June, so we wouldn't be able to have enough time to get this through the formal process. I think also at the same time, I think it just shows, this was something Mr. Moore went after, applying for grants, and just the aggressive nature of us, wanting to try to get as much funds as we can, especially those who are in need of these types of funds.
Questions? Go ahead, Kathy.
I have several questions on this. I really didn't understand it 100%, and I'll, admit that. The thing is this costing us any money in the preparation or anything? It says that we're not going to be in charge of the bookkeeping on it. Just first start with that one. Is there an extra price to this?
I don't believe so. So I think the county takes lead, and then we take a
Right.
portion from the county, but no, this is just a grant that everyone competes for, and we're just tethering ourselves to the county to go after it.
But then are we guaranteed some of the monies from that grant when it's received? Is that what our partnership is guaranteeing us or not?
How much?
It's about 300,000.
300,000 is what we
Right.
would be guaranteed now.
So we are definitely guaranteed that money, but we do have to spend it exactly as they say here. It says 2 to 3 houses in New Carlisle will be done. And it also says 6 or 4 in New Carlisle for repairs under 21,000. Most, like if it's for code violations, which is in my mind where I'm thinking this belongs, somebody needs a roof. That's between 10 and 15,000 for most homes in our area. So we lose out on the rest of that money, or are we able to continue with more than 4 houses in New Carlisle?
My understanding is we can spread it around
Okay.
to all the homes, exactly what you're talking about. And there would be a process in which we would apply that grant to these homes, but it would be, for folks who are in bad situations
Right.
that need the help, to get their home into compliance.
That's important to me, as long as we are not stuck with the number of 4 houses can be fixed. Because in my mind, I see lots of $1,000 repairs that a lot of our homes could use. Somebody's gutters fell off, this and that. They need a parking spot, a graveled spot. They need a new intake or something like that. Most of that stuff is much cheaper, and we could serve many more houses. And I would like to see many more houses served. So if that's what it's saying, and it's not costing us any additional monies
Hold
or
on
time.
one, so you're saying, can we use it for more than just the 4 houses that are
Right, that's
allocated?
my question.
So there is options to use it. It depends on cost. The big thing is it's prevailing wage. I can put a gutter up for 2 cents a foot.
Sure.
But this is definitely not going to be that. And when they do some of these construction projects, they're going to be pretty in-depth. So if there's going to be, it could only be 4 homes because there could be $20, $30, $40,000 in repairs to that one home. If you remember right, up on Brookfield, on the east side, just before you get to the school, they had a new heating and air unit. They had a roof put on and something else. So I think that one, don't quote me on numbers, was, probably over 50,000 alone in one property. And a lot of them need to apply. They try to find certain properties in town and get those people to come after it, just like the lead service.
Right.
Trying to just get people to say, I got some of these issues and I want to try to fix these problems that we got.
But further back in the grant, it also says there are microloans available. So that's another place where I kind of got stuck. It's like, in my mind, a microloan is less than 1,000, or maybe even less than 5,000. It's not actually in our thing, but it refers us to go look at their page, and that's what their page says. So I don't know, I just find it a little bit confusing. And I guess we're getting money, so I should say, yay, take it. But at the same time, it's also my federal or state money, and I don't want it blowed either. I guess that's my concern. That's all.
That's understandable. This was obviously before my time, but there was the home that I think was in Northwoods that was infested with mold, and there was folks living in an RV, and there was a contractor that just
I
stood
remember.
up and essentially, renovated. it's for those types of situations,
Yeah.
reminders, the way it was explained to me from Mr. Moore. And we have several people who would qualify for this, that would be very beneficial. Because otherwise, we're just at the mercy of the general public, because we have to enforce the code. And if a house is out of compliance, then, we are working, and that's part of our working session coming up on June 23rd, of helping holistically address a lot of the social services issues within the community. But this gives us some money to be able to give to that team that we're trying to build to help, the overall community.
Yeah, it just doesn't do quite what I'd like it to do, I don't think, but it still seems like a worthwhile plan.
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask one more thing? Or-
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Please.
So on top of the CHIP grant, there are various ones that the county has out there that I happen to know a couple people who have done it. Go to the county, it's not part of this process. Let's say you need new front porch steps. The little things like you're thinking micro.
Right, yeah.
They have those grants, and they have the people to assist you with that. So if you go in, say, I meet the LMI income levels, and I need a new back door because I may fall out onto steps, so they'll replace that. Your hand railing on your front porch. A new upgrade to your bathroom, maybe you need to get it ADA compliant instead of a tub because you can't walk in.
Right.
There are all year long grant opportunities for that through Clark County.
That is excellent information. Could you forward me them?
I will, yeah, I will, I'll get with Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
And get that information out.
That's exactly what I was looking for, stuff like that. Thank you.
Bill, do you have some?
No.
Okay. Anything further? Go ahead, Mr. Bond.
I guess, what is the problem we're trying to fix with this?
Well, I think this is money that's been allocated to the state that is essentially for exactly, I'm trying to find the preservation of the life, health, and property and public peace of the residents of the city. So all the counties are competing against the same pot of money. So do we sit on our hands and say, well, ours isn't as bad as maybe Southeast Ohio? Or do we say, you know what, we're a identified low-income community, and we should go after these grants just like other communities in the same boat?
Okay. I'll be honest, I rolled this around all day today. I have a tough time with this.
Yes, sir.
Just personally, being that it's federal funds, it's our taxpayer federally funded money, and at that level, I don't see anything in the U.S. Constitution that says the government should be taking care of people's houses. And so, if it was something local or something like that, I guess it would be different, but it definitely costs more when you do this at the federal level. Like Mr. Kitco said, this is all done at prevailing wage, so it's not the cheapest way to get some of these things done by far. So I don't begrudge anybody on how you vote on this, but I'll just tell you, I have a tough time with this one.
Go ahead, Bill.
I guess to try to answer Mr. Bond's question, yes, it's federal money that federal gave to the state, state gave it to the county. And the county needs to disperse of this money or they lose it. So if we can get the money to help people in our community, I think as the legislation body of the city, this would be a good thing. We have done this in the past. I think this comes up every year or two, if I'm not mistaken. And it's every year, I believe, isn't it?
I think it's 3.
Every 3. I know the last time it was up, I know it was passed, council voted for it. Really, and I understand your concern, but there isn't nothing in the Constitution about federal government doing this. Federal government should be out of a lot of things in our lives. But with that said, the state would probably have a program like this if the federal government was out of it. So that would be our state tax dollars, not everybody in the country's tax dollars. So I think overall, and in the long run, this will help a lot of people that can't otherwise afford to get their house fixed or get that new AC unit or that new heat unit or water heater or roof or, you know, the mold abated from their properties or whatever the reason is. Really, the only problem I have with this is an emergency ordinance. Because why can't they give us more time? Because they don't want to. That's the way I see it.
Go ahead,
That's
Mr.
the
Hall.
only thing that- I guess it's more of kind of a fundamental thing for me. I understand, you know, there's the rub there of, you know, we should just take it. The money's there. If we don't take it, somebody else is going to take it, and it could benefit our people, but I guess I struggle with the long term. Is this really the right thing to do long term for our country, for our community? I know we've done this in the past, but when you think of, you know, you talk, Mr. Manager, about, Mr. Hall, about the second and third effects of things, and does this continue to keep people in our community in need of the federal government or in need of the government period of coming in and helping them with their houses versus figuring out a different way of doing it, or maybe homeownership isn't the right fit for them, maybe rental is. There's a lot of things I think the free market kind of fixes. And so I guess I struggle with it a little bit more from the fundamental standpoint of just the idea of it, so. But I understand that, you know, yes, the dollars might help an initial need here, but is it the right thing on a little broader picture? So.
And I totally respect and very much align with you on the philosophy of this. But if, you know, staying within the parameters of the U.S. Constitution, and whether we like it or not, the U.S. Congress approved this budget. And if we were requesting the federal government to take money out of a different pot to help with this particular need, then I would, as I guess a point of merit, I would probably as well be like, I just don't feel like this is aligned with the values of our community. But I think in this case, you know, we have a U.S. representative that went and voted and supported this budget, that allocated this funds to be trickled down from the state to the county to the local level. So essentially, I mean, outside of the principle of it, I guess I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but I guess just looking at it from, there's a lot of different colors of money when it comes to federal budgeting and things. And I would imagine we're into the billions at this point rather than the millions that have been allocated across the entire nation to include second, third world countries that this money is being allocated for as well. So it's just, our folks are out there busting their tails, paying their taxes. Unfortunate things happen to them in life. And, you know, I would imagine even the people at the, you know, the worst possible case scenarios have contributed to the tax base at some time. Should they be entitled to a piece of that pie now that they're in a time of need?
Tough.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's tough.
Anything further?
All right, Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston.
Yes.
Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove.
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
No.
Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Accepted 6-1. Ordinance 2025-23, introduction tonight, public hearing and action on 6/16/25. An ordinance authorizing a service contract with Stryker for the maintenance and repair of fire and EMS equipment. Ordinance 2025-24, introduction tonight, public hearing and action on 6/16/25. An ordinance approving a tax increment financing cooperative agreement, a declaration of covenants and conditions, and a tax increment financing agreement in a connection with the reserve at Honey Creek project. In other business, the city offices will be closed on June 19th for Juneteenth. And now we'll be open for any other discussion on city-related business.
Anybody have anything else to bring up? Go ahead, Bill.
I've been thinking about this for a while. The city manager has a spending limit of $35,000, which goes to him and the service director. If they need something at $37,000, we have to have the attorney draw legislation, we have to hear the reading, the second reading, vote on it, and that takes 15 days for it to go into effect. If we have a major problem, pump or sewage separator, or all the things that could possibly go wrong in the city, I think it would be prudent if we would raise that budget for the city manager and the service director. Well, of course, it all goes through the city manager. I think we should raise that to $50,000. I think we have a city manager that is very prudent with funding and money and the ability to come to us. And I think if this was to pass, even the manager would be coming to us if he had to spend anywhere close to that. But in an emergency, whenever, I think $50,000 would be a better fit with our city at this time than at any previous time that we've had. And that also goes to if something happens to our fire or EMS equipment, that money would be available to fix that. You know, if a pump would blow in an engine, we got a problem. We need that engine fixed ASAP. Do we really want to wait 2 months or, almost a month and a half to get that engine fixed? When, if it's under the $50,000 limit, the manager can say, go do it. And then that's a life and death situation, I think. So that is my motion to raise the city manager's spending limit from $35,000 to $50,000. And hopefully I can get a second on it.
Hold on, is 50,000 going to be enough, or should it be a little bit more?
You're asking the wrong person, sir.
Well,
That would be a question to the city manager, I believe.
Thanks, Bill.
And or Mr. Kicko and or fire chief. I don't know.
Well, I appreciate your confidence in me to be prudent, and I absolutely am. Very cautious with spending our folks' hard-earned tax dollars. I do see the benefit in the efficiency of government, especially in emergency situations, being beneficial. One thing I was going to bring up, because it didn't come to light until after the council packet was already published to you all, but I met with some of the upper echelon of the sheriff's department to talk about our sixth deputy, which we were waiting upon the levy to pass to get the ball rolling on that. We have potential legislation due to the review of the contract, just to be triple safe, and making sure I'm staying within my spending limits of adding the sixth deputy, even though it was allocated through the budget. So do I think it needs to be raised to 100,000 plus so I could add the sixth deputy? No, I think that may be a little bit too much. But then thinking about, we have to also figure out what we're going to do about a car for our sixth deputy, and that was primarily what our discussion was with the sheriff's department. Well, anymore with the price of vehicles, you're not going to find a vehicle, let alone equipped and striped and ready for the road for $35,000. I don't even know if $50,000 would cover it. But I think for now, I think, also if you want to entertain that, maybe we cap it at 50, see how things go for a couple months. If there's some other things that come into fruition where it would make more sense to increase it. I guess I'm honored with just the faith and trust that you would want to raise it from 35 to 50. We've obviously been governing for a long time under the 35 cap. So I guess a long answer to a short question. I think 50 is enough for now.
My second.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Bill.
You spoke of a cruiser. if I'm not mistaken, that a cruiser nowadays, I'm just gonna give you a ballpark, probably around 80 grand for the car, get it, with the lights and the things that goes in it, radios and all this stuff. You're probably looking at 80,000, and any major purchase like that would, I think, come through this council. In my mind, the idea of the spending cap is for emergencies, like we have a pump or something and Howie's department blows up, and I'm pretty sure we don't have backups in sitting around for that, because the last time we had to replace one, they nursed it for almost 6 to 8 months before we got it in, and then we got it in pretty quick. So I don't know, I don't remember exactly how much that unit cost, but I know we had to do legislation on it, and maybe Mr. Kitco can give us that figure on the motor, that the pump that we had to replace. Wasn't it like 100,000 or something? Or I know we did or did legislation on it to get it.
For the one down at wastewater?
Yeah, I think that's the one. We've replaced a lot.
Yeah, the grip piece, yeah, it was the whole piece, that was close to 100,000.
Yeah, so the 50,000 wouldn't do that anyways. It would still have to be done, through legislation and more than likely an emergency ordinance, which, I really don't like, but sometimes they're necessary. So I think that a $50,000 limit is still on the low side, but I'm good with the 50,000 if this council so desires to pass it.
Go ahead, Mr. Baum.
I just have a question for the manager. So, Mr. Shammy asked if 50,000 was enough. Do you feel like you're being held back at the 35 from being able to get things done? You or Mr. Kitco, is that hamstringing you guys to?
I think it's mainly more in Mr. Kitco's department. When I did the tour of just, the water treatment plant, talking about the cost of, some of the pumps and, different things within it and how greatly they've increased over the years. Those are things that I could see being somewhat of an Achilles heel in the infrastructure support of the city. Now, going out and purchasing a patrol car or a cruiser or something like that, obviously, I just don't think that is prudent management on my part to not propose that, because we have other options. We can lease, we can get used vehicles. There's different options out there than getting, the top of the line, even if it is ultimately what's decided. But I think I would defer to Mr. Kitco if he feels, within his realm, if that would help with some of these emergency situations for being able to buy a part quick without, causing any issues to the health and safety of our community.
50s, obviously nothing will ever cover everything, but especially our well cleanings that used to be 10, 12 grand, they're starting to get up in our upper 20s, 30s. And if we pull that well, while we're doing the well cleaning and they pull the pump out and it's 6,000 to 8,000, well, we're right to you with legislation for a simple well cleaning, annual maintenance. We clean a well every year. So, yeah, I usually let council know in some report that, hey, we got well cleaning coming up, but I should be able to just, hey, yeah, go ahead and do that pump, or nope, hold that off. We got baseball season. Let me go get legislation done. Typically, we get over 50. You're probably getting into like that grit classifier. That's a serious project. Now, I'm not saying a well cleaning is not, but that well cleaning, I would much rather be able to just perform without question. The grit thing, which is near 100, yeah, that takes time. That's big time dollars, I think. Not that 50's not, but that there's a kind of an area where it's really helped. When it used to be down in that 10, it was treacherous. And it's funny, I just looked up, the city of Dayton just raised theirs last year from 10 to 50.
10 to 50?
10 to 50,000.
Oh, wow.
But in Dayton, they're constantly, they got agreements that probably cover a lot of expenditures that covered the whole year. And we just don't have that type of service that we provide.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Yes.
Yeah, there's.
Any other questions before we vote?
Okay, so the motion is to raise the city manager spending limit from 35,000 to 50,000. Okay. Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
Okay, accepted 7-0.
All right, is there anything else before I entertain a motion to
Mayor-
go ahead, Kathy?
We got we always have no committee reports because we have no committees. We did all that work to put the committee booklet together, and we have not asked for people to join committees or started any committees. We just have a book that says we're going to make committees. Whatever it is we need to do, could we please do that and get our committees on board?
Mr. Kirk,
All right, wait a minute.
we have an Easter bunny
Go ahead.
committee.
Councilman Wright,
Yeah.
maybe you're telepathing my mind, but I very much would also enjoy having some committees. And I think in our, again, we've been talking about it, and it's a real thing, neighbors helping neighbors. And, one of the things that would actually give some teeth to being able to really help out the community is through boards and committees. So the working session that we've been working on the social services issues within our city, I plan to propose that on June 23rd with those who are in attendance. And then also, obviously, not asking a council member to serve on the committee, but being tethered to that type of, if it is a committee that is something that inspired you to be an elected official, ideas that you've ran on, this, even from the upper echelons of the federal government, there's a congressman attached to a commission or a committee, all the way down to the local. So, Parks and Recreation, another item I wasn't necessarily going to bring up, but an example is we met with a community member about putting a certified wildlife habitat here at Smith Park. She's writing a thesis for grad school. She has a proposal of, getting some red oaks donated along with some other flowers and things, and then having us designated as a certified, natural habitat, which I think will also, it is a little plaque that goes in the garden, but something we can kind of celebrate as a community that, we do care about our natural habitat. But to have a committee to be able to kind of give that to, me and Mr. Kiko, along with one of his street crew, dedicated our afternoon to hearing the pitch and going out and surveying some different places in the park. And it would be nice to have some community members, involved in that process for us. So absolutely, June 23rd, you can expect, I'll be, putting those solicitations out. But, also, just as, council in general, if you're talking to constituents, if you see trends and things like that, please, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help assimilate to create, like a Parks and Rec board or, some of the other ones. With that.
Be safe.
Okay, does that suit you, Kathy?
It does, I guess. Are we just going to post it on Facebook, or how do we get people to know, other than the 100 that listen on here? So,
Well, if all those 100 would actually volunteer
That would be
for
nice.
it, then we would have all of our boards filled and have reserve.
Yes, I mean, we could post things out on Facebook. Again, I'd also, you as elected officials, talking with the constituents, hearing, their concerns and their needs and their wants. If you hear something, present it to us, and maybe we can reach out and help, organize, committee. I think back when, the city charter, when we stood up that commission, and that, from what I remember, it was kind of like a holistic approach where council members were recruiting, Facebook was recruiting, along with the previous city manager, making some phone calls. Because there's, certain committees and boards, it'd be nice to have people who either have a strong interest in that area or, an educational background or work experience in that area, just to, equip them, as much as possible to make an impact.
right.
So, yes, we can definitely, maybe we can talk about the June 23rd, how we want to,
That sounds like.
because I think that's the most
That sounds like
immediate
a-
committee action team that we need within our committee, or within our community, is helping out with the human needs that we have going on.
That works.
Anything else before we ask for a motion to go to executive?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
move to go into executive session to discuss security.
Second.
I didn't know we were doing
Councilwoman Wright,
that. Sorry, yes?
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
Caesar, I
Councilman
like that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to go back into regular session.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, move to adjourn.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shammy.
Yes.